guys. That's my final alarm. If you want to go and sit back in your seats. Are we feeling connected in community? Maybe? No one answered me. Yes, we do. Yes, so I want to encourage you guys. This is just a little taster to get you talking to new people. You're allowed to talk to each other all the time, and you can continue these conversations over morning tea. Feel free, because this is just often we use it at youth group as an icebreaker. We just want to open up the door to conversation, maybe in a space where you normally wouldn't step into that conversation, or it's quite scary or vulnerable, because we know it is starting a new conversation with a new person. But it's such a big part of being connected in community. So I hope we're all feeling a little bit more connected as we head into things. This morning I am going to start, I looked through the Bible, which is full of good stuff, and there is a lot of verses and passages and stories and books, whole books of the Bible that talk about community. There's heaps. And so I've compiled together a list of just a few of my favorites that I feel like really spoke to me about what community looks like, and I'm going to share them with you now. Maybe, maybe not. Samuel, would you go to the next slide, please? Thank you. All right. Can you guys read it? Oh, it's smaller than I thought. That's okay. I'm going to read it to you. First one, Psalm 133. How good and pleasant is it when God's people live together in unity. Then we've got Colossians 3:13. Bear with each other and forgive one another. If any of you has a grievance against someone, forgive as the Lord forgave you. Galatians 6, verse 2. Carry each other's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ. Proverbs 17:17. A friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for a time of adversity. That one really got me this week. And then the next slide, Samuel. Matthew 18:20. For where 2 or 3 gather in my name, there am I with them. John 15:12-13. My command is this: love each other as I have loved you. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. And the last one, Ephesians 4:2-6, one of my personal favorites. Be completely humble and gentle, be patient, bearing with one another in love. Make every effort to keep the unity of the Spirit through the bond of peace. There is one body and one Spirit, just as you were called to one hope when you were called. One Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God and Father of all, who is over all and through all and in all. When I first came to Blakehurst, it was 2020, so we had just had COVID lockdowns. I'd just gotten married, moved out of home. I'd been at my home church my whole life. A lot of you know that, where both my parents are pastors there. So I was very comfortable where I was. And all of a sudden, so much of my life got chucked just into the world, and we had to find a new place and find what that looked like. And I had a little experience here because my now husband, Lachlan, but at that point, we were married then, but for a long time, we were boyfriend, girlfriend, and I had come and visited Blakehurst with him as this was his church. But I felt so welcomed coming here. I think we do community well in this space. I had come from what had been my home for 24 years, my church at Padstow, and I was really nervous to step out of that space that was safe for me. But I've developed a new home. I've moved out of home for the first time, both literally and also in my church context, and I've moved here, and I have been so welcome and included, and I even said to James and Emery the other week, when I felt called to be a pastor, I knew that I would have to leave my home church because it's probably not helpful only learning from my parents, and I probably needed some more experience elsewhere. And I never imagined when I was younger and I got that call that I would feel at home somewhere as much as I did at Padstow. And it is so true now, 5 years on I've been here. I have felt so at home here. This feels like my home. Padstow feels like the home I grew up in, and this feels like where I live now. And it's a really special space. And often the feedback that we hear from people who come to Blakehurst some of you have come in the last few years, is that we are a welcoming space. We do community well, and we're starting to invest more and more time into what community can look like in this space. We're trying some new things, and we're stepping into new things. We need community as Christians. I don't believe that faith is supposed to be a completely solo thing. Our relationship with God, not only are we in community with God, but he also asks us to be in community with one another. God himself is in community with himself at all times. He's in community with us. He invites us to be a part of his bigger story. It's not just a one-on-one thing that happens all the time. God asks us and made us to be a part of community. He made Adam, and then he said, it's not good for man to be alone, and he made Eve. He wants us to be a part of community. He wants us to be together. And what I've learned this week, and I'm going to share a little bit more of what my week has looked like in community later, but what I've learned is that it's so important to build community now. Don't wait until you're in crisis or you're desperate for it. It's so important to build and to encourage and to engage and to inspire and to support. We have to not only find community for ourselves where we can, and I think church gives us a great avenue to do that, because everyone's together already, and you don't, no offense, I don't mean this as any offense, but you don't choose who's here. You just come, and then there's people here, and you're a part of this community. But also we have to offer community to others. We can't just be looking for one for ourselves. We have to also be people who are giving community to other people. We've been doing BDC for a long time. We talk about it all the time. I talk about it. James talks about it. But such a big part of it is storytelling and sharing in community. It's about sitting with people. It's about journeying through life with people. Evangelism is scary, but for me personally, this model is way less scary. I know how to do life with people. I want to do life with people. And that's how we share the Word of God. We've talked about before with BDC, they say if you're 65% ready, you're ready. You don't have to be 100% ready to go and share the Word of God or share your experiences or share your stories. Now, we might not feel 65% ready to share the Bible or to preach or to do those big things that sometimes feel too overwhelming and scary, and it feels like we're being asked even when we're not. But I believe everyone in this room is 65% ready to share life with someone. And I think that's really important, to share your stories, to check in on each other. And so I thought, because we're doing Connected in Community today, what better way to connect than to share some stories? And so I'm going to share a little bit about my week, and we're going to open up the share chair. If you're happy to go, Samuel, to the next slide. We're going to open up the share chair, which we've done before. And I want you guys to be thinking about how you've experienced God through community. So it can be a story, it doesn't have to be from recently, it can be at any point that you feel led to share. But I'm going to share from recently first, because as Mel prayed, we've just had a lot going on in my family. I'm going to move to the share chairs. And I'm going to share a little bit. Actually, I might bring my iPad. It's got the rest of my sermon on it. That's important. So, as you probably heard through prayer texts and through Mel praying then as well, my uncle passed away very suddenly last week. It was a big shock. We weren't expecting it. He was 53, so not very old at all. And he had a lot of life left to live. And so it really was a shock to the system. I don't know if I've fully processed it all yet. We've got the funeral on Tuesday, so would love prayers for that for my family. But what we have experienced in the grief and the processing has just been so much community. And so when we got to it and I saw, I'm preaching this week, and I thought, should I get someone to fill in for my sermon? And then I thought, well, I've just had 2 full weeks of community overwhelm, which has been lovely, and we've just been absolutely showered in community. And so I thought, well, I better share of God's faithfulness in this time. And so we have had, well, we're very lucky. We've got 3 church communities amongst my immediate family. My Uncle Paul went to a church in Paddington, and they have been just exceptionally wonderful to us. We haven't met a lot of them before, but they have just been in constant contact and support with us. We've got Padstow Baptist, which is where the rest of my whole extended family goes now. And they have just been so supportive. We've had friends visiting and checking in. We've had flowers, we've had meals cooked, we've had hugs. We've had lots of really beautiful things coming. And my family, and then we've had Blakehurst, and people here have been doing the same thing. Even we're using the building tomorrow for a viewing with just the family of my uncle, which we're incredibly grateful for. There is so much that's tough about this time, but the really beautiful thing is how much time my family's got to spend together, and people who've been through grief will know that, hopefully, if that's your experience. If it's not, I'm sorry, but we've been spending so much time as a family, and particularly just gathering around my grandma who's lost her son, which is really tough and feels really unfair. But we've just been gathering around, we've been sharing stories, we've been passing on memories, we've been just caring for each other and sharing in meals like James was sharing with communion. And it's actually been such a time of blessing. We've gotten to know people we wouldn't have known otherwise. My Uncle Paul was a music teacher, like they do at Tritone. He taught at some schools, and then he also taught out of his house and also my grandma's house, so he had a lot of students, and we've just had an influx of love from everyone. People we haven't met, we've been getting texts, and it's been so lovely. And so I just want to encourage you guys to be vulnerable and share with us where God has been faithful in community with you in your life. And I would love to hear some stories, because I think let's get this started together. Let's start just being connected in community today. We've already done some. I would personally love to hear some other people's stories of this experience and how God has been faithful through it. And in my journey, we're still on it, but I know that there's going to be more of God's faithfulness. And if you want to know more, I won't say it from the front, but God's faithfulness was through the whole thing. Despite him dying suddenly, his faithfulness was so apparent in every point of the story, and I'm more than happy to share with people at another time if you'd like to hear that as well. But would anyone have a story?